right, now after a dramatic 6-hour-long standoff with the security, the South Korean police have called off an attempt to arrest the suspended President Yoon Suk Yeol. The 150 officers involved found themselves helplessly outnumbered, first by the large number of pro-Yoon supporters who had gathered outside his residence before sunrise, and then by the human wall of security and military forces inside the property. Police was trying to carry out an arrest warrant issued earlier in the week after Yoon ignored 3 summons to him to appeal for questioning. The politician is currently under investigation for abusing his power and inciting an insurrection when he tried to impose martial law in early December. The question arises is, what will be the fate of Yoon Suk Yeol and the chaos in which the country of South Korea found itself in? Can there be reinstatement of democracy in the country? Let's start our conversation. Joining me on the telecast is Giljun Ko. He's the Director General of Yosu Expo Site Redevelopment. He's joining me live from Seoul in South Korea. Giljun, so let's try to understand over here. Here is an arrest warrant that has been issued against the former President Yoon. And this has happened and this has been issued. It's been several days now. Why has it been difficult for the South Korean police to act on the impeachment and the arrest warrant that has already been issued? And how is it that the former president who is impeached, there is an arrest warrant against him, has enough power, enough security, a number of these military personnel? How does he get them to support him and secure him from the arrest?
Our procedure is considered about violence occurring during arrest process. If violence occur, Mr. Yoon will use this honor excuse to say that the arrest is illegal. Our procedure is working to ensure that the arrest is legal.
Okay, all right. I come back to you, sir. Joining me also on the telecast is Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor. Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor, it's quite the hilarity that is, ensuing in South Korea amidst questions being raised about whether the democracy in South Korea is under threat and whether sovereignty of the country is being compromised. Professor Madhav Nalapur, if you could shed more light into these developments that have taken place in the last one entire month. First, there was a martial law that lasted just a few hours. The president was then impeached and he had to step down. After that, the acting president himself had to be stepped down. He was impeached as well. And now the question arises as to why is it that the South Korean police is finding it so difficult to arrest the former president who has been impeached. There's an arrest warrant against him.
Look, without going through due process of law, you cannot just boldly claim that this arrest warrant is legal. He was elected president of South Korea, and unfortunately for presidents of South Korea have an unfortunate history of being arrested and jailed subsequent to holding office. He has been arrested or sought to be arrested while he is holding the office. The fact of the matter is, it is a reality that North Korean agents and sympathizers are honeycombed throughout South Korea. That is a fact. It is a fact that North Korea presents an existential threat because of its nuclear weapons to South Korea, to Japan, to Guam, and various other locations. There's no question of denying that. Now, how on earth can you call it an insurrection when a president issues an order which is sanctioned to him, that, and of course, which he very wisely withdrew at the end of 6 hours, because that order was really not necessary at all. He withdrew it. But for that error, you are basically trying to railroad a person out of office, send him to jail. This is not the way to treat a man who was elected as the president of South Korea. And again, I'd like to say the premises on which President Yoon acted in imposing martial law were correct, but imposing of martial law was wrong. and he withdrew it within 6 hours. 6 hours. So basically, you're arresting him as though he had imposed martial law for 6 years, if not more. He just for 6 hours, in which hardly anybody in South Korea would have noticed the difference. They would have been, in their homes. So quite frankly, for me, as someone from India who has got a very strong admiration for the Korean people as a whole, and for the way South Korea has developed as a country, it's a real model to the whole world, not just to Asia.
Okay.
I am very, very saddened at this effort to basically railroad a president not only out of office, but is to send him to jail for something that he did in good faith, that
Okay.
there was likely to be a takeover, and frankly, that is exactly what we are seeing happen now. I am
Okay.
seeing, from my way of thinking, an attempt at takeover by forces that are not
but
entirely
then-
composed
yeah.
of people who wish well of their own country.
But Professor
South
Nalapat,
Korea.
there has been, there has been wariness within the people of South Korea, because there have been several instances of martial law rule that has been imposed in South Korea, which has been detrimental to the democracy of the country, and therefore the question arises is whether Yoon was justified in imposing martial law.
Look, I want to say very clearly that in my view, he had got information that he was privy to, and that which now needs to be shared with the entire South Korean public. That should not be kept secret. Mentioning in detail the names and the activities of those who are loyal to not only North Korea but to China, the sponsor of North Korea. If you're talking about honeycombing of South Korea by North Korean people who are sympathetic North Korea, the honeycombing of South Korea by people who are sympathetic China is 10 times more, frankly. President Yoon obviously was given information, and on the basis of that information, he acted. His mistake was martial law. The South Korean people are disciplined, they are democracy minded, they are wonderful people. They don't need the whip of martial law to make them do the right thing.
Okay.
All that is information.
Okay.
And shortly before he made this mistake, more and more information is coming out in the media about the North Korean infiltration and the Chinese infiltration into South Korea. This entire episode has been a very welcome diversion to Kim Jong-un and to Xi Jinping for taking the focus away from China and North Korea's activities in South Korea right on to a president who, in my view, acted in good faith. He acted wrongly, but human beings make mistakes, and he was only a human being.
Okay, I'm also going to get Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor into the conversation, and the pro-Yoon protesters who had gathered outside his residence forming a human chain had also been holding these placards of "Stop the Theft, Stop the Steal," and this was the same placards that were used in sloganeering that happened at the time of the 2020 US elections, where Donald Trump and his supporters questioned the authenticity and the credibility of the voting that took place, casting aspersions on the election commission's process, whether the votes that had been counted were counted correctly, whether the votes had been stolen away from the Republican Party and Donald Trump. Now, there have also been appeals made by these South Koreans who support President Yoon that there should be support and help that they have sought from Donald Trump once he comes to power. Is there any, I don't know, is there any, first of all, credence to all these questions and allegations that are being raised? Is there any credence to these rigging allegations that are taking place, because there were questions being raised that the Chinese had infiltrated into the National Election Commission, which is equivalent to the Chief Election Commission of our country? And many of such many of such claims that have been made. Now how do we know, how do we sift the chaff from the wheat?
Thank you so much, Megha. It's a very complicated situation and very difficult question, and not easy to unravel all the layers like an onion, because there are too many questions involved, there are too many parameters, there are too many agencies at work, there are too many dynamics. There's internal politics, internal dynamics. There is the aspect of the parliament versus the president. There is the aspect of the regional dynamics in terms of the play by China and North Korea. There is the aspect of geopolitics involved at a larger level. So stop the steal, etc. And the support that he has internally is also divided. It's not that 100% of the Koreans are behind him or a very large majority is behind him. There is a significant majority which is behind him because they understand the dynamics at play. And Korean politics, while the society, while the country has progressed a lot, has developed a lot in the last few decades, the society has become an advanced society in so many ways, as almost like a developed or a semi-developed economy. But the politics has been going in a zigzag fashion. Sometimes it's going ahead smoothly, sometimes it is not. There are a lot of aspects of corruption many times. Now there is this new case where a president declared martial law and emergency, and then he had to retract it because the parliament voted against it. Now, what sort of countries are putting in their weight behind persecuting him or prosecuting him? More information will come to light in the coming days. But currently, I agree with what analysis has been proposed by Professor Nalapat. I think the Korean people may have a better take on this, but the aspect that a lot of things are being tried to be brushed under the carpet so that they don't come out, because Korean society is also in a very important geopolitical space, the South Korean country. There is all these actors involved which are in a very difficult sort of play at this point of time, with China trying to take back Taiwan, the Hong Kong situation still simmering. There are a lot of other countries which have overlapping claims with China. China is not following the rule of law, not obeying the decisions of the International Court of Justice on Philippines, on the islands, and having a very aggressive stance with India and with the other countries. So now they are also trying to influence the dynamics of politics, as I have seen as a diplomat in my almost 4 decades of career. How they try to infiltrate or penetrate the decision-making echelons of power in various countries, and how it becomes very difficult to control their influence. So to that extent, I guess we will get a better fix on it in the coming days. But I'm glad that his security forces of the palace prevented the enforcement agencies from making an arrest, and hopefully this thing will be put behind, and there will be more peace and calm and a better analysis and understanding of the situation within a week's time. Thank you, Megha.
Rubinder Sachdev also on the telecast with me. Rubinder, let's also try to understand the complexity and the complications that revolve around the arrest of Yoon, and take a look at just a few days ago when the acting president himself was impeached. He was forced to step down, and the reason that the opposition decided to vote against him in the parliament was that he was not ready to induct the 3 of the 9 bench of the apex body of the court, which would then be responsible for hearing the case of Yoon in the courts. Now, that's a very sensitive situation to be in, and if one political party is trying to keep its hold and continue to govern, it does not have enough number of parliamentarians to support it, it is in all probability going to fall. The question arises, how is it that the president continues to have such strong support, and not just the support of the people of Korea, but the fact that he has the military personnel who are also supporting him. So how does this work? One is about the civil servants, one is about the politicians, one is about the government, and the other is about the law and order agencies, which is then divided into the police, which has been wanting to arrest him, while the military continues to support and secure him.
Thank you, Megha. I mean, definitely it's a complex and complicated situation, and of course we do not know, the nuances, but we do have a fair enough idea. From the fair enough idea that we have, as to the arrest specifically, the presidential bodyguard which is there is of the military, but they do not report to the military, by the way, right? The exact folks who are guarding him, that contingent which is there, does not report to the military leadership. It reports to the president, technically. So the president is saying, protect me, they have to follow the orders. The power of the presidency in Korea is actually, is very strong, actually, and this is one example. So that's one. Secondly, as to the support, well, the public opinion shows that his support is down in the dumps. He's down to 15%, 18% or so. Unfortunately, he was down even lower the night of the martial law. But over the period of time, over the last 1 month, I think it's been 1 month exactly, his support has little bit picked up, okay, amongst his political supporters. But his numbers are running very, very low. That's one. Secondly, imposing a martial law is absolute. The charge that is against him is of treason. And I think if you ask people in Korea and the ones here right now on our panel, there is a sense that he let down the country in a big way. In a big way by imposing a martial law. So that's there. Now, as to how this whole process plays out, we'll see. Why he imposed the martial law, that's another matter. He's not been able to run the government because his party does not have the majority, or the opposition has an overwhelming majority in the parliament, right?
Yes.
And they've been asking to appoint prosecutors to go after him, his wife, and some of his appointed prosecutors. By the way, the opposition leader is also under charges of corruption and all, and there's an investigation going on against him also. But he's nowhere there where, the current president is in terms of the complexities he's found. The reason the second president was impeached, the acting president, once you're impeached in the Korean parliament, then that matter goes to the constitutional court, which is supposed to be of 9 judges. And a judgment by 6 judges is necessary to complete the impeachment process.
Yeah.
Now, as of now in Korea, out of the 9 judges, only 6 are in office, 3 have not been appointed so far. So what the opposition said that this would mean that all 6 would have to go along with the idea that they're impeaching, which may be probability-wise little less. So they were asking that the appointments be completed and they should be all 9 on the, on the bench. Now, as far as the stop the steal and all, see, his government is clearly a government of the right. What his supporters are doing now is trying to copy or copycat actually the Trump phenomenon, that stop the steal, and they're laying out all those arguments that it's the left or whichever the opponents are after us, they're trying to steal the election. So that's somewhere there. And in terms of numbers, the problem for Yoon is that his support, which has gone down already, his support is more amongst the older age Koreans. And you can check with your guests from Korea here. Apparently, the opposition, the larger numbers they have, their public support is from the younger generations. That's a challenge his party faces, that they're not being able to, attract the younger generations to their cause.
Okay, all right. Let's hear it from Giljon Ko as well. Giljon, the situation is at the moment now, how is the average South Korean reacting to this entire cacophony that is emerging within the political quarters? Do you think it is now the need of the hour to hold fresh elections?
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Now our election is we will making the chances. So because it's usually the just a moment. Someone who destroyed the principle of democracy, the president. We will continue to oppose the impeachment. Our country is not the country leader by the president. The people have a leader, the country themselves. Even if there is no president right now, our people we will protect the board of directors with their democracy the principle. We can elect a new president. The whole national is responding to national crisis. This will be over the less than the months. So the foreigner so we have anyway it is the legalizing the Korean the advanced democracy that we are creating the global economic sovereignty. This is because our society has become stable based on success democracy. However, Mr. Yoon has returned to the regressive, violent society of 30 years ago through the material law declaration. So.
Okay, so do you think at this point of time are people buying the justification that has been given by President Yoon that there is rigging of elections and infiltration by the Chinese and the North Koreans that have led to the sovereignty of the country being threatened?
Yeah, we are the Mr. Yoon has the impeached, but the fear of the martial law still remain. It will end when Mr. Yoon is arrested and the next president is elected from the opposition party. Mr. Yoon didn't respond to the arrest. All citizens are angry at Mr. Yoon's attitudes. Mr. Yoon is unaware of his own mistake and in consideration everything that the North Korea government is responsible to our situation. They are well aware that it is the crazy behavior of one individual, just Mr. Yoon. That North Korea, the government is responding in order to avoid giving the starting point of the war. Mr. Yoon is trying to declare martial law again through war with North Korea. That the current situation is not political confrontation. It is the confrontation between the democratic people and Mr. Yoon.
Okay.
Our people, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, on that note, I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast and sharing your views. We'll keep a close track on what all happens in South Korea and whether there is actually going to be the arrest of the impeached President Yoon and what will that lead to.